All right, welcome everybody. My name is Jaime Avila. Thanks to Chad and Quizlet for inviting me on today. I've been using Quizlet for a really long time, and I'm super excited to present today. So some of the Quizleting topics for today, I'll just talk a little bit about myself, some equity and access to technology, some things to think about when you're using Quizlet, why I use Quizlet in science, why I went from a free to a paid account, uh, a little bit about my study sets and kind of how I organize them, how I use those. Definitely imaging and tagging images or diagrams, which I use a lot. And of course, a little bit about Quizlet Live. So a little bit about myself. I've been teaching high school science for about 13 years now. Right now, I am teaching marine bio, and I am the AVID coordinator for Silver Creek High School. In the past, I've taught forensics, AP environmental science, biology, integrated science. Down below, there's a couple of my accounts if you want to connect via different social media outlets. So my Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and my paid teacher sites are under all the same name, Avila Teach. I'm probably most active on my Instagram and Twitter. Typically, my YouTube channel is just some teacher talk type of things and a lot of technology. So, I mean, I love using technology in the classroom. And when I find a tool that I really gravitate towards, I usually make a YouTube tutorial on it. So first off, I wanted to start off by talking about equity in the classroom, especially with Quizlet being a technology tool. I'm a huge fan of technology, but I found myself becoming very Quizlet heavy at one point because students gravitated towards it. They love using Quizlet. And according to Pew Research, 95% of all teens have access to a smartphone. But then I started thinking about, well, what about that other 5%? And I think I made the natural assumption that all kids have smartphones. And that's not true. So in order to be equitable, I had to start thinking about, okay, what about the other 5%? Luckily, Quizlet has the ability to print out the classroom sets. So it just became a matter of asking students, do you have access to Quizlet? Making sure that they have access to Quizlet. And if they don't, making sure I provided something for them. Just like I said, a simple glossary printout of the terms. Some students just prefer the paper version. They like something tactile that they can hold on to. And so what I would do, there was one student I had 2 years ago who wanted to create flashcards, and they started writing everything. And I said, well, I could just print them and you can cut them out and put them on flashcards. And they found that to be a lot more useful. They spent less time writing it out. And so just something to consider if your class is becoming very Quizlet heavy. Why do I use Quizlet in science? Just about any piece of research you look at in terms of studying and building foundational knowledge says some repetition is required, practice basically. So I've read two really good books. One is called Powerful Teaching, the other is called How We Learn. And both of them basically end up saying the same thing. It's when you combine practice and then distributed practice, it becomes a very powerful tool for learning. And so while my students love Quizlet, because they always ask about it, like, oh, do you use, when I first introduced Quizlet, like, oh my God, you use Quizlet. Are you going to have that for every unit? And so I tell them yes, because I know what a valuable tool it is. But I also explain to them that it's not just about looking at the Quizlet set, it's about the frequency with which you use it. And so that's what I'm always pitching to them. It's like, it's not just about looking at it one time. You have to keep going back. You have to keep trying different modes. And Quizlet's awesome because there are so many different learning modes for them. Some kids gravitate towards the matching. Some kids gravitate towards testing. Kids nowadays are really liking the learn mode. And I'll talk a little bit about the learn mode for some of the interventions I have for a few students. The other thing is the phone is with them all the time. So their ability to, walk around and, study on the bus, study at break, study at lunch, look at Quizlet cards at home. Like I said, it's a really powerful tool. And again, I always go back to kids ask for it. They're a little skeptical when they see my first Quizlet set. They're like, okay, do you use Quizlet? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, are you going to have more? Yeah, of course I'm going to have more. And again, I explained my spiel about it's really important to build foundational knowledge for them. So how do I use Quizlet in science? So I typically begin by creating a large unit set or unit sets. They'll range anywhere from about 20 to 60 terms, depending on how large the set is. And I think this is a slight difference in math and in science. In math, you can, I think, break it down into smaller pieces. In science, at least the way that I look at it, it's all these terms aren't isolated from one another. You need to look at the whole picture, so the entire thing. And this became a bit of an issue when I would create this massive unit set with 60 terms and I have quizzes in between. Students would ask, well, how far do I need to go? And what fixed that problem was the highlighting, which I'll get to later on. The other way that I use it is creating diagrams or tagged images. This is fantastic for visual learners. My kids love this mode. When there's an image where I want them to identify bits and pieces, they're asking me, can you create a diagram for us, a tag diagram? And I'll show you what that looks like in a bit. Like I said, it's just been really helpful. Quizlet Live is, if you're brand new to Quizlet, it's such a fun game mode for kids. And in that is learning. You're just gamifying their learning, where students get together in groups. Basically, it's first group to answer all 12 correctly is the winner. I usually award an extra credit point for the winning team. Like I said, it's just such a cool mode. And there's some great ideas out there on like how to modify Quizlet Live, but that's almost like its own separate little presentation. So I also focus on class areas for growth. So my big push at the beginning of the year is getting everybody to join Quizlet. And then I tell them, okay, you need to practice. The more you practice, the more it helps you out, but also it helps me out. It helps identify weaknesses in the classroom. And so here, what I'm looking at here is the student mode. So when I log into my account, in the upper right-hand corner, there's this little tab, and I could drop it down to original mode, which just shows me the original layout. But what's really powerful is this student mode. So all the students who've practiced this set in one way, shape, or form, it's giving me a percentage. So what are they getting right? What are they getting wrong? And I can look at this maybe once a week, maybe before a quiz, maybe after a quiz, and say, okay, they're really having trouble with this one. For whatever reason, they're getting it backwards, or they're getting it wrong more often than the other cards. So let me target that specific card. Let me address it. Sometimes it happens where I've typed the wrong thing. I'm not perfect, so I'll go back. Why did they get it so wrong? Well, it's my fault. And so I have to adjust it, but then I'll go back and I'll talk to them about it. The other one is targeted intervention. And when I see a student dropping below 70%, I start asking them questions like, well, how often are you studying? What's the frequency with which you're studying? Because more often than not, that's the root cause of the problem. That's why they're having some issues in my classroom. And what I'll tell them is, look, once a week, I'm going to check in with you. Make sure you use the learn function. The learn function is going to tell me which ones you've mastered, which ones you're still having trouble with. And that way we can focus more on your learning. So whichever ones you're having trouble with, those are the ones we're going to focus on for maybe about 10 minutes at lunch, or 5 minutes after school, just targeted intervention. And so what that looks like is this here. So here I can ask the student, okay, pull up your learn mode for this unit. It'll show me how many terms they haven't looked at yet, how many terms they're familiar with. They've gotten it some right, some wrong, and then how many things have they mastered, meaning you don't really need to look at those anymore. Let's focus on the ones that you haven't looked at, or let's focus on the ones that you're familiar with. And this has really helped out with those students, because I've identified them like, look, you're starting to drop below 70. We don't want it to get any worse. We know for the most part the issue is probably your studying, so let's start fixing bits and pieces of that. At some point, I went from a free account to a paid account. I started using Quizlet in 2009, somewhere around there. I remember somebody asked me, like, who told you about Quizlet, or how'd you learn about Quizlet? I don't even know. It's just, I've used it for so long. It's just kind of always been there now. But at some point, like I said, I kept using the free account, and I wanted to do more with it. And that's when I decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to take the leap to the teacher account. And while the free account is great for me and my usage in the classroom, the teacher paid account just made more sense. One, it's ad free, so I mean, I love that. There's not all this clutter. Um, the ability to bold and highlight terms has changed a lot of things in my classroom. So when I was creating those sets of 20 to 60 items, let's just say I was giving a quiz. I'm not going to test them on all 60 items. Maybe it's the first 10 or the first 12 or 11. And students would often ask me, well, where do I stop? Or what do I need to know for this quiz? So before, I would have to create a separate, smaller unit. And then this started cluttering up my folders because now I have this big unit and then all these smaller chunks. And so what the highlighting allows me to do is, okay, well, let's just say I have this. So this is my ocean chemistry one. There's, I want to say 50 something terms in here. And kids want to know, okay, where do I stop? Well, the highlighting function allows me to highlight one of the terms and say, okay, learn everything, including the highlighted one. And now I don't have to create all these extra sets. I can just have my one really large set. That's it. Again, saves me a ton of time. The other thing, again, super useful, the ability to use images, which is really powerful for our visual learners, and diagrams, again, really powerful for visual learners. And then one of the cool new features is the scan feature for cell phones. Now, this is a big plus for teachers who already have terms on paper, and you're kind of making that transition over to Quizlet. Like, I have so many sets on Quizlet now. I would probably use this for chemistry terms. And again, I'll get into this in a little bit. So this is the images section. So if you type in a term like dependent variable and there's a definition for it, if you click on the little image button here, it will automatically pull up some free images that you can use. Now, the cool thing with the teacher account is you can upload your own image. So if none of these work for you, you can upload whatever image you'd like, so long as it's saved on your computer somewhere. And as far as diagrams, which again, I'll get into a little bit later, it looks something like this. So you can see all the little cards down here and a map of oceans and seas that I've tagged. So for marine biology, they have to know a few oceans and seas. I typically like the diagram Quizlet on the phone because you can zoom in and out on the desktop, but the ability to like use your fingers to zoom in and out is super helpful to kids. Like, kids love doing that. And the cool one is a new scan feature. So let's just say I want to scan in a chemistry formula, or I want to make a card with a chemistry formula. And let's just say I'm going to make a lot of them, and I'm looking at a textbook and I'm going to borrow a few examples from there. I normally have to sit there and, okay, term, tab, definition. The cool thing is on your cell phone now, you can scan. So I have this picture down over here. You can scan either a glossary or you can scan an equation. And as you highlight it in yellow, you just use your finger to highlight it, it starts typing it for you. And then you just hit the next plus button. And like for adaptation, I would just like with my finger highlight adaptation for the term. And then I would highlight all this for the text down below. And it happens super fast. Like I said, it's just a great tool. So if you're one of those teachers that still has paper copies of all your definitions, super helpful. If there's something in a book you want to copy and turn into a Quizlet card, this is, and not do a lot of typing, this is super helpful. Or if you, like, one of the other ways is, of course, borrowing a set from another teacher. But if you want something more custom, this is really, really helpful. So along with using that feature, how do I create or how do I find study sets? When I'm using Quizlet, there are basically three buttons that I want to make sure that are clicked when I'm trying to find content for myself and possibly my class. So if you click on the search button, over here on the side, there's a few options. One, I'll take free. There is some premium content, and you can select the all button, but free is usually the way that I go. I'm typically looking for sets here. If you click users, it's going to pull up like all the usernames that fit whatever you typed in. And then I want something that's teacher created. So I have a teacher paid account. So I want to find other teachers out there. If I click on all, it's also going to pull up sets that students have created. Now, of course, you're probably going to run into issues with students creating sets that aren't accurate. So that's why I think highlighting the teacher button is super important. And then as you're scrolling down, you can see which ones already come with images. And if you have a free account and you're thinking images would really be helpful for whatever unit you're on, well, go search up using these buttons and then look at which ones have images, and you can borrow those. Again, it's not as customized for your classroom, but again, if you're running a free teacher account or just a free account, it'll do the job for right now. Like I said, at one point it wasn't enough for me. I wanted my own images, not just images that were provided for me, but like specific images that I had for my classroom. Now diagrams. Diagrams is a new feature probably within the last 2 years that I've been using. Again, my students love this feature, especially like the map. Instead of just having it on a piece of paper, the ability to hover over things and see if you got the answer right is really cool for them. And it's just like creating a regular set. You just click on create a set, you name it, and up at the very top, there's this add label or diagram. And so I'll come over here. And this is what it looks like. It allows you to add on these little bubbles here. So let's just say I want to add a point. And I can title it, this place, take off the highlighting, and I can add it. And there you go, right there. So when students are trying to learn these, they can click on them and they can see, okay, oh, that's the South China Sea. Oh, that's this place. Oh, that's the North Atlantic. What happens if you have a place that's not like a single point? Quizlets provide you some really cool tools like this one where you can outline things. So if it's an area, you could do that, and then you could tag it. There's a rectangle if you want. And again, the best way to see this is probably on your phone. So I'll show you here where, again, you can hover, like kids like this because they can hover over it. Okay, they can take a guess. Okay, what is that? Hover, and then they can see. What's that? Hover and see. What's that? Hover and see. So there's this little zoom button here, but it just works a lot better on the phone. Like it just provides more space for them to click on things. Just a couple things if you're interested in using diagrams. One is make sure that you have a clear picture. And normally what I do is I just do a Google search. And every time you do a Google search, when you hover over the image, there's this little something times something. That's the resolution. So I typically try to find things that are 1200 by something. That's a really high quality image. Even 700 is okay. But I tend to find anything 400 or lower is really, really small, and the quality is not that great. So just if you're in the market for diagrams, just look for some high quality images. And then, of course, like I said, it kind of looks like this when we're all done. So again, these are just some items that you can use with your kids. I personally find the learn function to be one of the most useful. Flashcards is that traditional one. My students don't like write because it's a little picky sometimes, and spell. So these two happen to be a little bit picky. Test is one that I use a lot with them. So I'll create a multiple choice test, just a really quick one. I'll put up a tiny URL, send it out to them. All right, you need to get 90% really quickly just to see what you know right now. Let's see where you're at. And then these games are fun too. Like a lot of students before the learn mode really like the match mode, but now learn mode, at least in my class, has become the dominant go-to for students in my marine bio class.